Sometimes life ends not with answers, but with riddles. Across the world, people have vanished or died in ways that defy explanation. What begins as an ordinary day can spiral into an eerie silence no one can explain, leaving behind only fragments of truth. Clues surface, but the real story drifts further away with every retelling. These are the horrible fates and mysterious deaths that remain unsolved. By the end of this video, you'll uncover the hidden truths authorities never revealed, the chilling connections between these deaths, and the secrets families have been desperate to expose. Watch closely. The answers only come if you stay until the very last story. In the corridors of Russian power and commerce, few figures carried as much intrigue as Boris Avakan. Born in Armenia but educated in St. Petersburg, he climbed rapidly through the ranks of academia, securing advanced degrees in law and economics. By the time his career matured, he had shifted from classrooms and lecture halls into the far more lucrative world of trade, logistics, and state property management. His influence stretched across borders, and his name became linked with both official appointments and private ventures that commanded serious money. Yet with prominence came shadows. In recent years, investigators tied him to a massive financial scandal involving customs operations at the port of St. Petersburg. The figures cited were staggering, billions of rubles in allegedly unpaid duties. At the same time, officials in Armenia accused him of crimes ranging from illegal crossings to laundering funds. Still, despite the swirl of accusations, Avakan managed to navigate the storms for years, moving between boardrooms, government offices, and international arenas. That delicate balance began to unravel this September. Summoned to court in St. Petersburg, Avakan faced a decisive moment. But in a scene that felt torn from a thriller, he slipped away. Reports say he asked to step outside for a cigarette during the hearing. Moments later, he was gone. By the time guards reacted, he had vanished into the city. His next destination stunned many, the Armenian consulate. For a man carrying dual ties to Russia and Armenia, it was perhaps the most symbolic refuge. Officials confirmed he was inside the diplomatic building, and his legal team hinted he intended to seek political asylum. But within hours, the story took a darker turn. On the morning of September 24th, Avakan was discovered lifeless in the consulate's bathroom. For some, that explanation made sense. A man cornered by international charges, his empire crumbling, may have chosen to end his own life. But others immediately questioned the official line. How had he managed to escape from a guarded courtroom in the first place? Why was the consulate willing to harbor him despite the mounting pressure from Moscow? And, most haunting of all, what really happened in those final moments behind closed doors? Supporters claimed he was a target of powerful enemies. Detractors insisted the weight of his scandals finally broke him. But neither side produced the answers that could quiet the growing speculation. Even in death, Avakan remains an enigma. His career spanned politics, business, and diplomacy, touching countless lives across two nations. Now, his demise fuels whispers of conspiracies, political rivalries, and untold secrets. What was supposed to be a trial about unpaid duties and financial schemes has instead become a mystery that refuses to fade. Just when you think mysteries can't get more disturbing, the next case takes us inside a locked hotel suite in the heart of Bangkok. What investigators found there left even seasoned officers baffled. And if you think the Avakan case was filled with unanswered questions, this one will make you wonder how 6 people could meet the same fate behind a door that no one ever saw open. If you're following these unbelievable cases closely, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another story this chilling. In July 2024, Bangkok became the center of international attention when 6 foreign nationals were discovered dead inside a luxury hotel suite. The victims, 4 from Vietnam and 2 holding American citizenship, had checked into the Grand Hyatt Erawan only days earlier. What followed was a tragedy that still leaves investigators struggling to explain what really happened within those locked walls. When staff entered the room, they found a scene that was at once orderly and disturbing. The door had been secured from the inside. There were no overturned chairs, no broken glass, no signs of violence. Yet 6 people lay lifeless, positioned in different parts of the suite. Some were on the floor near the living area, others in the bedroom. The air of calm in the room clashed with the grim reality of what had taken place. The first major clue came from forensic examinations. Tests revealed lethal amounts of a deadly chemical compound in the victims' bloodstreams. Investigators also detected the chemical on cups, a teapot, and containers used for drinks. This discovery immediately shifted the focus to what the group had consumed together. Oddly, plates of food ordered from room service remained largely untouched. Whatever had been ingested came not from the meal, but from what they drank. This detail raised a troubling set of questions. If all 6 were poisoned through shared beverages, who prepared them? And if an outsider had been involved, how did they gain access to a locked room, and how did they leave without a trace? The locked door suggested no one had entered or exited after the poisoning took place, pointing investigators back toward the possibility that the act originated from within the group itself. Family members later told authorities of an investment dispute. Several of the victims had placed large sums, around 10 million baht, into a hospital project connected to Japan. Tensions had reportedly arisen over the fate of the money. To some, this revelation provided a potential motive, financial betrayal that escalated into something far more sinister. Still, many inconsistencies remain. If one individual had decided to kill the others and then take their own life, why was there no message left behind? And how could such a carefully orchestrated poisoning take place without attracting attention in a hotel environment where surveillance and staff are constantly present? A deadly chemical compound itself deepens the mystery. It is not a substance that can be easily purchased or handled. Its use requires intent and preparation, suggesting that what happened was not spontaneous, but planned well in advance. Whether that planning was the work of one person within the group or an external actor who managed to introduce the toxin remains unanswered. Months later, the case continues to resist clear resolution. Theories range from a calculated act of revenge to a collective decision shaped by financial despair. Each explanation is undermined by details that do not quite fit. What is left is an unsettling picture: a sealed room, untouched meals, tainted drinks, and 6 lives cut short in circumstances that defy simple understanding. But as shocking as a sealed hotel room may be, what happened in Bali would disturb an entire nation. In late May 2025, the holiday island became the backdrop for an unsettling mystery involving a young Australian traveler, Byron Hado. What was supposed to be a short escape from routine ended in circumstances that continue to raise questions months later. Byron, just 23, was found lifeless in the pool of a rented villa in the Bangkok area of Badung. Early reports suggested intoxication played a role, with alcohol and prescribed medication discovered in his system. But from the very beginning, details surrounding his passing never quite aligned. Forensic examination revealed bruising on his forehead, eyelid, and knee, injuries consistent with blunt force trauma. Doctors concluded they weren't independently fatal, but when combined with alcohol and antidepressants, they might have weakened his body enough to make drowning possible. Yet this explanation left many uneasy. If the marks were minor, what really caused his sudden collapse? Adding to the unease was the handling of the case itself. It took 4 days before local police officially recorded the incident. By that time, the villa had already been cleaned, and 3 Australians, people who were reportedly with him that night, had flown out of the country without ever facing questions. Why authorities allowed potential witnesses to depart remains a shadowy gap in the chain of events. The deepest shock, however, came weeks later. When Byron's body was flown back to Queensland, his family learned that something critical was missing: heart. Without any prior warning, they discovered the organ had been retained in Bali. Officials later claimed it was standard forensic procedure, yet no one had informed his grieving relatives. To compound the distress, they were asked to pay hundreds of dollars to have it returned separately, long after his funeral had been planned. When the heart finally reached Australia, new doubts arose. DNA testing had to be ordered to even confirm that the organ belonged to Byron. This raised disturbing possibilities. Was it truly his, or had there been another failure in how evidence was preserved? Meanwhile, the unanswered questions linger. How could a healthy young man, visiting a villa with companions, end up submerged without a clear chain of events? Why were those who might have explained what happened allowed to leave? And why did communication around forensic examination and repatriation become so chaotic? Officially, the explanation leans toward a tragic accident, a mix of substances and water leading to disaster. But to those closest to Byron, that conclusion feels incomplete. The delay in reporting, the unexplained injuries, the missing organ, and the silence of key witnesses form a puzzle with too many missing pieces. Months have passed, yet the air around the case is still heavy with uncertainty. Byron Hado's death is marked not only by the tragedy of a life cut short, but also by the lingering enigma of how paradise turned into a nightmare. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. You won't want to miss the shocking stories we have coming next.